Yes, sir.
I have not put it in presentation mode. When we start, I'll put it on presentation mode. So, okay.
Yes.
Very good. Sorry, I was a couple of minutes late because when I started, WebEx said that it had an update. So it took 2 minutes to go through the update. So I see already there is 91 participants. That's wonderful. So Professor Tripathi, just as we planned, I'll speak for maybe 35 minutes or so, and then open it up for questions. Just so you know, I am free for the next 1 hour. So if the questions go a little bit longer, don't worry about it. I'm happy to accommodate. It's just that for you, it's nighttime. For me, it's bright and early, so we can go all day.
Definitely, sir.
My next appointment, I usually try not to schedule them back to back, but the next appointment is at 12 noon, so I'm good. So now you mentioned the other day you could not join the Science Technology Innovation Forum. What happened? You did not get the link, or?
Yes, sir. These government of India people did not share the link. They every time whenever we try to join the webinar, it message came like this: soon you will get a message, get the link. Soon you will get the link ID and something like that. And they did not send the link, so
Oh, I'm
could
so
not join
sorry
it.
because I was already in the webinar. If I'd seen it, I would have shared it with the organizers. In any event, they recorded it.
I think.
I believe it will be shared on the STIP portal
Yes,
shortly.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was a good discussion. Actually, it was scheduled for 1 hour, but they went almost 2 hours because they had lots of questions. So.
Yes, yes. Actually, that is unexplored area, sir, and there are a lot of work is yet to be done in that particular area.
Very true, very true. And my
Well,
remarks there were about what universities could do to support the initiatives of the government of India. So.
yes, actually, paradigm at present the scenario is like this. People always think in terms of package.
Right.
Whoever goes to university thinks in terms of package, not in terms of this entrepreneurship or industry. Something means this paradigm has to be changed here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm ready anytime you are. So I will
Yes,
mute myself and.
yes, sir. Now it's almost time, so it's 8.
Yes, sir. We can start it.
Yes, Vivek, please.
If you want to wait for a few minutes, it's totally up to you. I'm fine either way. So.
Okay, I think there is some problem with Vivek side.
Sir, no, sir. No, sir.
So Vivek,
Am I
please
audible?
start. Please officially
Okay, sir.
start. Yes, yes. You are audible.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Please
Okay,
start.
sir. Good evening to all. Professor S.K. Ramesh, Professor V.S. Tripathi, Dr. Mayank Pandey, respected faculty members, and dear participants. On behalf of IEEE MNIT student branch, I, Vivek Rajput, take this privilege to welcome you all. I appreciate your presence in this webinar from the core of my heart. Dear participants, first of all, there are instructions which you all need to follow during this webinar. You are advised to mute your microphone and also please turn off your video. If you have any query or question regarding the talk, you should write it in the chat box of Webex meeting. And after the completion of presentation, Professor Ramesh will address those questions in the time allotted for session. As we all know, time to fight against global pandemic COVID-19 developed by IEEE members are making differences in this fight. Thus, they are justifying advancing technology for humanity. IEEE has support our members worldwide and hold our professors together during this uncertain time, and therefore allow UK seems more flaunt. IEEE is the world technical professional organization. It was founded in 18 with a mission to foster technological innovation for the benefit of humanity. Today, in 160 countries, there are more than 80,000 student members. A student branch gives students the opportunity to meet from fellow students and professionals. In the field, IEEE student branches are established at over 1,500 universities and colleges throughout the world. Student branch activities offer numerous educational, technical, and professional advantages to IEEE members through special project activities, tours, and field trips. IEEE MNIT student branch. Currently, we have 8 active societies and over 60 student members. Collaboration, inclusive excellence, and collective efforts have made IEEE MNIT student branch to reach a new height in terms of events and number of student members. Now, I invite Professor V.S. Tripathi to offer welcome address to our esteemed guest, Professor S.K. Ramesh.
Thank you, Vivek. On behalf of IEEE MNIT student branch, our institute, and on my own behalf, I welcome Professor S.K. Ramesh in this webinar. We are honored to have Professor S.K. Ramesh. Professor Ramesh is a renowned engineering educator with over 3 decades of leadership experience as a dean, department chair, and faculty member. He is presently a professor of electrical and computer engineering at California State University, Northridge, and founding director of AIMS 2 program that mentors and supports underrepresented minorities in engineering. Dr. Ramesh has been active IEEE volunteer for 38 years, and he has served in several leadership roles on the IEEE Board of Directors, IEEE HKN Board of Governors, ABET Board of Directors, and as IEEE representative on the ABET Board of Delegates. As 2016-17 Vice President of Educational Activities, he actually developed innovative programs like IEEE Learning Network, ILN. He served as IEEE HKN, that is the Electrical Engineering Honor Society, President in 2016, and expanded IEEE HKN to reach all 10 regions of IEEE. He is also recognized for contributions to entrepreneurship in engineering education. His major research interests include high-speed optical communication systems, devices, and electronic circuit design. He has got many recognitions, include John Guerra Engineering Educator of the Year, William Johnson International Award for Leadership and Contributions to the Profession, and the IEEE Region 6 Community Service Award. Professor S.K. Ramesh is a candidate for the position of 2021 IEEE President-elect, along with Dr. Ray Liu of University of Maryland and Dr. Saifur Rahman of Virginia Tech. I think all IEEE members should have received an email message from IEEE elections with the bios, statements, and video messages from all 3 candidates. I encourage you to review the materials and be sure to participate in the elections. The elections already started on August 17th, You can vote online by logging in with your IEEE account at www.ieee.org/elections. Now I feel that you are getting impatient, so I am handing over to Professor S.K. Ramesh. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Tripathi, and thank you, Vivek, and thank you, Mr. Piyush Kumar Sharma, for your gracious introduction, the warm welcome to the MNNIT campus at Allahabad. It's my great pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to begin sharing my screen. There were a few comments on chat that the audio was not coming through. I hope that you can monitor that and ensure that the quality is good. So here we go. I'm going to start sharing my screen momentarily. And I hope that it is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visual.
Very good. Thank you. I'm just trying to minimize this button right here. Just give me 1 second. There we go. Much better. So good evening, everybody, to all of you in India. I know it is just past dinner time, and you're probably all tuning in, wanting to listen to the latest news. So forgive me for interrupting your dinner or your news broadcast, but over the next half an hour, I want to take some time to speak to you about a topic that I think is really relevant, particularly in the world today, as we confront the challenges from COVID-19 and the coronavirus. See, a few months ago, when I was asked to speak at the IEEE SITE conference, that's the Special Interest Groups in Humanitarian Technologies, the organizers reached out to me and said, Ramesh, can you give a talk on the future of engineering? Because they saw a lot of challenges about the future of engineering. But I really took poetic license with their title, and I said, is it really the future of engineering or engineering the future? So if you stop and think about it, as engineers and computer scientists, we have a tremendous role to play in the future in a post-COVID era. So my remarks are focused on engineering the future. You heard a little bit about my background, so I'm not going to elaborate on that, but I do want to mention the gentleman that you see in the center of your slide right there, who needs no introduction to any of you. It is our late dear president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, one of the most famous nuclear scientists in our century, but above all, a brilliant human being. He was someone whom I had the pleasure of meeting. This picture was taken in October of 2009, when Dr. Kalam received the Von Karman Award at Caltech. That is the highest award that can be given to pioneers in aerospace. And it was just coincidence that a schoolmate of mine, by the way, I went to NIT Trichy, which is what it's called now, but back in the day, it was called REC Trichy. And my schoolmate happens to be the chair of the aerospace department at Caltech. So it invited me to the event. The other two gentlemen in the picture to the left of Dr. Kalam is Dr. Asad Madni, who's a member of the US National Academy of Engineering and who's a distinguished adjunct faculty at UCLA, and then Professor Raghavendra, who's the associate dean at the University of Southern California, USC. So we happened to meet there. And it just so happened that summer, I had visited India. My hometown is Chennai. I visited India and I picked up a copy of President Kalam's books, Wings of Fire and India Vision 2020. So we had a lovely conversation. And he asked me back then, he said, Ramesh, what can we do to improve the quality of engineering education in India? So a lot of the work that I've been engaged in over the past decade, really I attribute to the conversation I had to this brilliant president of ours, the people's president. So with that said, let me go into our topic today. And first, I want to talk about a changing landscape. So what has changed in the last few months? And then I want to talk about the innovation and the role of grand challenges in solving these problems that confront us. Specifically pivot about IEEE's role, because I recognize that a number of you are faculty, a number of you are students, undergraduate and graduate students attending this call. And there's a saying that charity begins at home. So I want you to know what kind of resources are available through IEEE to support you. And then going back to the mission of IEEE, because no matter what discipline you're studying, I suspect that many of you on this call as IEEE members are studying some discipline in electrical or computer engineering. But really, IEEE's mission is much broader than that. So how can we engage through IEEE's humanitarian activities? And then I have a few closing thoughts to put it all together. So that's what we're going to spend the next probably 20, 25 minutes talking about. And then I want to have a discussion with all of you to see how we can move this forward in the coming era. So here we go. So when I talk about a rapidly changing landscape, you heard that I teach in the California State University system. It is the largest public university system in the United States, probably about 500,000 students in 23 campuses. There's about 50 to 60,000 faculty, staff that support them on these 23 campuses. So if you came to any one of our campuses, let's say before the 12th of March, 2020, this is probably what you would have seen. You would have seen students on the lawn with their smart devices, their phones and their laptops open. Yes, some of them are probably watching YouTube, a movie and so on. Maybe some of them are actually listening to a lecture or preparing for their classes. But the scene that we had on our campuses was very, very different, right? People were very socially connected, and yet we were able to interact with each other. We had all these hallway conversations. We're going to lectures, labs, various activities without really thinking much about it. We were jumping on planes and going to meetings. I was attending an IEEE meeting in Toronto, and I just got back at the end of February, and so forth. All of these things were happening in the world when the small microbe that caused COVID-19 disrupted the entire global civilization. Now, when I think about it, and this is, by the way, this is just a cartoon picture, so don't imagine that we transformed those people into robots. But what has happened right now is that we're socially more connected than ever as a result of the internet, but yet we're socially more distant. I have not been on my campus since March. For the last 6 months, I've not stepped foot on campus. But in the meantime, classes are being taught, faculty meetings are being held, webinars are being held around the world. Business as we know it is adapting to the changes that are happening around us. So that is what I mean by engineering the future. In other words, we were confronted with this virus, this small microbe that completely disrupted our lives as we knew it, right? Before COVID-19, we were moving around, we were traveling, we were going to plays and sporting events. If you're in India, I know the IPL is just starting probably in a week or so, and I'm a huge cricket fan, so I'll be watching like the rest of you. But remember how things have changed dramatically in the space of just a few months. So what is the role of innovation and grand challenges? Now, before we go there, I started the conversation talking to you about President Kalam, right? I want to put something else in front of you for inspiration. The US National Academy for Engineering came up with a book called Changing the Conversation. You can actually download this if you go to nae.org, www.nae.org. Now, the purpose behind this book in 2008 was to encourage more students to go into STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because in the US, we felt that we were not getting enough students who were interested in these fields. But to me, the more important message was the foreword of the book. It talks about how no profession unleashes the spirit of innovation like engineering. From research to real-world applications, engineers are constantly discovering how to improve our lives by creating bold new solutions that connect science to life in unexpected forward-thinking ways. Now, the next two sentences, ladies and gentlemen, to me, are really, really important as we think about where we are today. Few professions turn so many ideas into so many realities, and few have such a direct and positive impact on people's everyday lives. We are counting on engineers and their imaginations to help us meet the needs of the 21st century. Now, remember, at the time that this was written, COVID-19 was not even there. But here we are in 2020, and we're turning to engineers and their imaginations to help us meet the needs of the 21st century. But do download the book, it's free, and read it, because I think you'll be inspired, just as I was back in 2008, about how engineers and computer scientists have an opportunity, an obligation, an ethical obligation to make a difference in their communities. Having said that, I have to bring up what the grand challenges are. And we know all of these: energy, environment, climate change. You know, I live in California, and we've been hit with devastating forest fires. So the air quality is really bad right now. And we're very fortunate that by God's grace, we're able to somehow contain these fires. It'll take a long time before we get back to what we call normal. Around the world, people are looking for clean water and nutritious food. Healthcare has risen to the top as a result of COVID-19. Transportation has always been a big challenge. Education. Education, I feel, is very central to solving all the grand challenges that come before us. So if this is not enough inspiration, let me take you to two other publications, The Engineer of 2020 and Educating the Engineer of 2020. Both of these came out of the US National Academy of Engineering. And again, both of these are available for download from nae.org. The publications on the two ends of my bookshelf right here are The World is Flat by Tom Friedman and How Flat and Crowded, also by Tom Friedman. Now, The World is Flat is not about the flat earth policy, but it really talks about how the internet and global transportation, globalization, has made it such that no matter where you are in the world, you're connected just as we are today. You're communicating, you're collaborating, you're working with one another, and you're able to make a difference. And then a few years later, Tom wrote the book on Hot, Flat, and Crowded, which really looked at the impact of globalization on energy, because our fossil fuels are limited. And what can we do to be sustainable? What can we be doing to improve more renewable energy sources so that the legacy that we have for the future is one that we're really proud of? So if you looked at The Engineer of 2020 and Educating the Engineer of 2020, both of these publications were written over a decade ago. Here we are, we're almost 3/4 of the way through 2020. And it'll have things like we need people to be analytical. We need people to be good problem solvers. They need to be having excellent communication skills. They need to have good leadership skills. They need to be understanding problems for multiple dimensions. But perhaps one of the most important messages here is that we need to come together as humanity. We need to be inclusive. We need to be collaborative. We need to be accountable, because accountability is taking advantage of the resources before us and ensuring that those resources are being used in an appropriate way. In other words, we're stewards of time and place. And we need to be resilient and ethical. That value, resilience, is what I believe is most important for us right now when I think about innovation. In other words, I define resilience, bouncing back, as innovating through adversity. So think about the adversity that we're facing right now. Instead of being able to move about freely, now we have to wear a mask. We have to ensure that we are protected, both for our sake as well as the people around us. And yet we need to figure out a way to conduct business, to conduct our classes, to keep people employed. There's been tremendous unemployment as a result of COVID-19. So how do we bounce back? What is that we do? That, ladies and gentlemen, is innovation. And that is what you and I and every one of us are striving to do through resilience. So now, having set the stage, I want to bring up President Kalam, okay? And this is from his book, A Vision for the New Millennium, India 2020. If you haven't read it, please buy the book today and read it. I told you I was fortunate enough to meet him, and I had the books with me, so he kindly autographed the books, both in English and Tamil. I speak Tamil, that's my native language. And in India Vision 2020, one of the lines that caught my attention is what he says about sight and vision. He says, sight is about what lies in front of us. Vision is what lies ahead in the future. And then he was talking about areas of development, people, economy, strategic strength, and infrastructure. But he says to achieve all of this, technology is the answer. And then he goes on to talk about the role of technology, which is not only to produce all these products and processes that we take for granted, but we also need to make it available to the common man, to the common woman, to people, women, men, women, and children at an affordable price. So technology should not only produce goods, but also explore ways to reuse byproducts, namely he's talking about sustainability. And he captures it all by saying, technology should not only be for the classes, but for the masses. So if this is not enough inspiration for you from President Kalam, let's see what another president, and we just lost him, unfortunately, our late president, Shri Pranab Mukherjee Da, had said. Now, this was a speech that he gave in 2014, commemorating the birth anniversary of Acharya Satish Chandra Mukherjee, who was a leader and educationist of the early 20th century. And he was talking about the education systems in India and how the education systems in India needed to change. So this is what President Mukherjee said. He said, if we can make the necessary effort by creating teams of inspired teachers, by establishing linkages, Looks like I lost my presentation there. By establishing linkages with the global educational fraternity through the maximum use of information technology, by placing emphasis on research, etc., results will follow, right? So he said some institutes are already making efforts, but the work that you're doing through MNNIT and through the other colleges is really critical to engineering the future. Okay, having said that, first things first, if you're a student, if you're a faculty member, if you're in industry, you get confronted with this virus and you say, wait a minute, we are doing all of these things and now suddenly everything has changed. So it's going to be very difficult for us to go back to the way things were. The first thing you need to remember is there is no going back. The world has changed and we need to be adapting what I call is a growth mindset. So look at failures. If you talk to any entrepreneur, they would tell you they tried 10 things and 9 out of those 10 things failed, right? So think about failure as an opportunity to grow, and challenges can help you grow. That's a reference for you. You can go ahead and read the article. But one of the first principles that I want to lay before you is to have a growth mindset. In other words, how do we grow as we go forward? Okay. Then let me go back. A number of different topics here about failures. It says failure is the key to success. You try, you fail, you try, you fail. The real failure is when you stop trying. And there is no such thing as failure, only a learning experience. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. So putting all of these thoughts together, I really believe that engineering the future is the way forward for us. Now, we know the challenges. We know the various challenges. So where do we begin to engineer the future? We have lockdowns, right? Lockdowns and working from home. If you look right now, majority of us are working from home, mainly to slow the spread of the virus. This is what we do. I spend 10, 15 hours a day on meetings, online meetings, talking to my students, talking to faculty, giving talks, attending various designations. Testing, tracing, and control have become the order of the day because we're trying to slow down the spread of the disease. We are using different technologies, artificial intelligence, 5G, IoT, and so on. At the same time, we need to be very aware to protect privacy, to protect data, because we cannot stigmatize the people that are infected. They need help, right? So how do we ethically use the data? The data should not be abused. There's large economic impact. The economic impact that we have is affecting industry sectors, it's affecting businesses, it's affecting everybody around us. Resilience, innovating through adversity. How do we rebuild? What do we rebuild? Can you mute, please? I'm hearing a little bit of audio noise in the background. So the opportunity to build what we need is really what I mean by innovation, an innovation-based economy, right? So what are the challenges and opportunities? We've already talked about a number of these. Pollution, congestion, lack of access to clean water, housing, climate change, forest fires and hurricanes, quality of life, unemployment. The current unemployment rate in the United States is about 5%, growing to almost 20% because of COVID-19. If you look at the number of jobs in the US, it's about 160 million jobs. That's 32 million people that are out of work. Around the world, if you look at 800 million jobs, that is a significant number of people, about 150, 160 million people that are out of work that are looking for jobs, because without jobs, you don't have economic development. Without economic development, how do we sustain ourselves? So what can we do? What are the opportunities? The opportunities to me go back to Tom Friedman's book, go back to President Kalam's vision, go back to President Mukherjee's vision, sustainability. Clean energy is going to become increasingly important. Yes, we have the transmission grid, but increasingly, I think we're going to be looking for local renewable sources of energy. Transportation. Yes, we have tremendous services with airlines, buses, and so forth, but how are we going to survive in a post-COVID world where we have to gradually reopen our borders, where we have to gradually begin to travel in a safe way? So meanwhile, we need to have local manufacturing capabilities. We need to be looking at local supply chains, smart cities, smart grid, digital technologies, but access is important. Just having the internet is not enough. People need to have access to the internet. All the technologies that we create, AI, IoT, 5G, machine learning, all of these will play a very important part. So if you're listening, no matter what discipline you're in, try to make yourself better by understanding what the upcoming needs are. These are the opportunities that I see in my crystal ball before me. So how do we adapt? How do we adapt for this brave new world? I go back to core values. I go back to openness. I go back to trust, Trust begins with transparency. Transparency involves being very open, being collaborative, respecting other points of view, even if you disagree with those values, being inclusive, being truly collaborative. The other thing that I think about is sustainability, because in the space of just a few months, we have gone very, very quickly from being globally connected to be still globally connected, but very socially distant. And in a way, we're getting back to nature. See, I live in Los Angeles. And so if I have to go from any place to any place, it's probably 20 miles, right? So somebody would ask me, how far is it? 20 miles. But 20 miles is not the issue. It may take me 2.5 hours to traverse this 20 miles with all the highways and all the automatic technology that we have. Why is that? Why do we have so much congestion? Now with COVID-19 and working from home, the roads are actually free. And we're seeing blue skies, we're hearing the birds chirping, the flowers are blooming. So in other words, we're really thinking about nature. We are balancing with nature, saying that the world as it should be is one that we need to be in balance with nature. Nature is the ultimate balancer. So this is something that has come to life as a result of COVID-19. Another value that I really, really respect is one of collaboration, because I'm really thankful for the technologies that we've created. Think about the high performance computing folks that are working around the world. Think about the doctors, the epidemiologists who are working around the world. No matter what their nationality, no matter what their culture, no matter what their language, they're all working together to find a vaccine, to find a cure for COVID-19. The possibilities are enormous, 10 raised to 40 possible antiviral combinations. But by putting the best minds together, by putting the best technology together, we've taken those 10 raised to 40 combinations, mind-blowing number of combinations, and reduced it to something like 20, right? 20 possible antiviral drugs that we can test. We can go through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and eventually find a vaccine, which probably will happen late 2021. That is just my prediction. You may have a different idea, but this is not going to happen without collaboration. And this happens because we're sharing. Again, something that has happened as a result of COVID-19, looking at a silver lining in this dark cloud. Fairness, ethics, abilities, life. So no matter where you are in the world, collaboration has finally come to a place where we know that this is going to make a difference. This is how we're going to future-proof the world. So one of my favorite poets is Maya Angelou. And if you haven't read Maya's works, I recommend you take a moment now that you're working from home, download one of her books and read her book. She's tremendously, tremendously gifted. We lost her a few years ago, but a line from one of her books goes like this. It says, lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. So rather than be defeated by COVID-19, just think about COVID-19 as the first in a series of global challenges that we're going to face. But with collaboration, with trust, with openness, with transparency, with ethics, with fairness, with accountability, with resilience, with ethics, we're going to put all of this together and we're going to come up with solutions. And as Maya quite nicely says, we will suffer many defeats, but we must not be defeated, right? So please just look at that as an opportunity to grow. Now I'm going to pivot and talk to you about IEEE's role. So far I've given you the global picture of how the future has been changing as a result of COVID-19 and what her role could be. So think about IEEE's role. Over 400,000 members in 160 countries, 46 technical societies, 120,000 student members, about 80,000 of them are undergraduates, remaining members are graduate students. Countless conferences, over 1,900, 5 million technical documents, 200 top-cited periodicals. If you look at the top 25 journals and publications in the field of electrical engineering, 23 of the top 25 are in IEEE, 1,300 active standards. If you turn on a switch, thank an electrical engineer for it. This is an IEEE standard behind it, right? Tremendous amount of work. So technical breadth, unparalleled. Then we have social impact. This is where I think IEEE's mission really comes to life. Global public policy, global humanitarian efforts, global education certification, ethics and technology. By the way, if you're not familiar with ethically aligned design, which is an open source initiative that we started in IEEE probably about 4 or 5 years ago, EAD, check it out because it brings different people together. And in particular right now with autonomous and intelligent systems, how do we use data, right? How do we use data in a way that is ethical and in a way that is secure as we're looking at testing, tracing, and control for COVID-19? So we're looking for input from all around the world. And in fact, there are some initiatives underway. I mean, yesterday I was reading about an article that both Google as well as Apple, in their operating systems, Android and iOS, are building in the testing and tracing capability. Now, while they're doing that, that's great. Maybe it's good for testing and tracing, but I would want it to be anonymized. In other words, I really want this to be something that we can opt in to, so that my privacy, my data is being protected. They're responsible for creating these policies, right? So where does IEEE stand on all of this, right? Advancing technology for humanity. Just think about our mission for a moment. Advancing technology for humanity. It is as if COVID-19 had happened and IEEE, they came to our doorstep, somebody knocked on our door and said, hello, IEEE, can you help us, right? So think about our mission, fostering technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity. We have standards, conferences, publications, we're universally recognized for our contributions, but most importantly, for our engagement of technical professions in improving global conditions. This is our time, this is our place, this is why we are studying engineering and computer science to make a difference in our community. To highlight further, when you look at our strategic plan, I look at the values on the left: trust, service to humanity, integrity, partnership, growth and nurturing, global community building. All of these have been central to our strategic plan. And you can read the strategic plan, but I highlighted a few things there for you because education to me is very critical. Enhancing the public understanding of engineering. Be a trusted source of educational service. You know, if you turn on an IEEE website, you're not going to be inundated with pop-ups. We really vet the information. There's a reason why 23 of the top 25 journals in the field of electrical engineering are an IEEE stable, because we're a trusted source of educational service. People come to us because they know that they can trust us to support lifelong learning. We have an opportunity to provide career and professional development, inspire a worldwide audience by building communities. You know, a few years ago, we started with an initiative called the BRAIN Initiative. That's a technical community now. Blockchain as a technical community. IEEE entrepreneurship as a community, but it will probably soon grow into a society just the way it is growing. Advancing technical interest. So IEEE, I believe, is very central to making a difference in this future. So the other way to look at it globally is to look at the United Nations, right? The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm sure you're all familiar with this, the UN Sustainable Development Goals: eliminating poverty, eliminating hunger, providing good health, education, equity, infrastructure, etc. And to me, when I look at UN SDG, I see this is where IEEE's mission, technology for the benefit of humanity, and IEEE entrepreneurship and humanitarian activities all come together. So in a way, engineering the future seems to be the way that IEEE members, no matter who you are, a student, industry professional, government, academic, you can make a difference in any one of these fields, okay? So what are the resources available from IEEE? Before you can begin to help others outside, we need to know what is available to us as IEEE members. So I put together a few things here for you to show you what's available. And you can find these on the IEEE website. If you go to IEEE.org, just type in COVID-19 under IEEE.org, it'll take you to this website, right? So these are the COVID-19 IEEE resources. And if you click on this particular site, the link is there at the bottom, it'll open up another page that shows you a number of tabs: virtual events, free resources, member resources, and then it also has articles. Solution for Zoom fatigue may be near. You know, I told you I'm spending 10 to 15 hours on Zoom. I still need to go out and take a walk to clear my mind, to clear the air, so that I can come back and be refreshed and be able to talk to you, right? So lots of different resources here that you can go. But if you're like me, I said, what kind of resources are available? Because now that I can't travel anywhere, what kind of free resources are available? So I clicked on free resources, and that brought up this page. What I like about this page is that it puts the resources in the context of the end user. So if you're a practicing engineer, if you're an educator, you're a parent, right? A number of you are parents. You have children who are going to middle school, high school, elementary school. All of that is happening by Zoom. What kind of resources does IEEE have for parents, for researchers, for students, right? These are all resources coming through IEEE. So I clicked on this, and lo and behold, these were the top three that came up: continuing education, ebooks and audiobooks, and distance learning. So I said, that's interesting. IEEE Learning Network gives members easy access to online learning content. Well, I should know something about this, right? Because I was IEEE Vice President in 2016 when we started this initiative. But it's a collaborative initiative that brought together all the societies, all the organizational units, saying IEEE has tremendous content that you're continuing to create. How can we make this available and accessible to IEEE members no matter where they are, right? So if you go to the IEEE Learning Network, which is ILN, and you can find it right there, you can find a number of courses. For example, there are courses that are being offered at the rate of $10. Now, I understand this is a lot of money in some parts of the world, and IEEE is constantly trying to reduce the cost of these offerings, because ultimately we want to make these accessible and available to everyone, right? That is the goal. So tools and software for edge computing, introduction to IEEE standard 1547, IEEE English for Engineering, which is a very popular course, writing at the introductory level. And then at the end of July, number of faculty around the world, number of students around the world put together a forum called Effective Remote Instruction. This is actually available free on demand. The conference is done, but you can just go download it on demand. If you're wondering, how am I going to teach a lab in a COVID-19 world? This is something that you need to listen to. So lots and lots of resources available through IEEE. And then if you're like me, I graduated in 1981, probably long before many of the students on this call were born. And I still have books. I still read books, paperback books and so forth. I said, what kind of books are available from IEEE? So if you go to IEEE Explore and type in browse books right there and click on classics, it'll say by title, by topic, and classics. Believe it or not, it comes up with 373 ebooks. 373 books, ladies and gentlemen. Last time I counted, we had 365 days in the year. So if you even read one book a day, you'll still have 8 books left at the end of the year to finish up in the next year, at the end of 2021. Now, the beauty of this is these books are available electronically. You can download the PDF to your favorite device. These are free. These are free for any IEEE member, wherever you are, and read them at your convenience, underneath the patio, sitting on your sofa, wherever you are, right? But IEEE is making resources available to people so that we can help them where they are. If you're a researcher and you're working on COVID-19, you have data sets that talk about the spread of the virus. You have data sets that talk about how the cure for a vaccine is coming about. All of this has been made freely available to anybody in the world. Our COVID-19 resources, you don't have to be to even be a part of that particular society. You can just go and access it, right? So all of these are available to you. So please take advantage of this. Again, this slide may have been updated since the time I downloaded it. At the time I looked at it, there were 630 articles, journal articles, and data sets, open access data sets that one can use wherever you are. Okay. ILN just celebrated its first year, by the way. It was started in 2019. It took 3 years to bring together. Again, the collaboration didn't take place easily because we had to work with the societies, Power and Energy Society, Communication Society, Vehicular Technology Society, Geospace and Remote Sensing Society, all the societies coming together, but having a common platform where their content is available to everyone, right? Now I want to pivot and talk about how we can engage through IEEE's humanitarian activities. And I have 2 examples for you. One of them is IEEE Smart Village, and the other one is EPICS and IEEE. And I know that a number of you may be familiar with them. Some of you may not be familiar with them, right? So I'm going to talk about them. So Smart Village is built on 3 principles: providing electricity, providing education, and providing entrepreneurship. So a lot of places in the world are without electricity. So the goal of Smart Village is to impact at least 50 million people by 2025 by providing smart, renewable, portable solar technology. So clearly it provides illumination, clearly it provides opportunities for safe kitchens, provides opportunities for healthcare. So all the global challenges that we talked about leading to cleaner, safer, and more prosperous lives. So this initiative, it's 10 years old, was co-founded by Ray Larson, who just stepped down as chair. John Nelson is the current chair of IEEE Smart Village. In India, there is a group called the South Asia Working Group, which was led by Mr. Farid Khan, and I believe there's a lot of volunteers in UP and the rest of the country who are active in IEEE Smart Village, working on different projects. The other part of Smart Village is it brings entrepreneurship to the fore, because what it says is we need to build micro utilities. We need to bring entrepreneurs to invest in these communities to address the humanitarian needs so that they become self-sustaining, they produce jobs, and at the same time, they produce entrepreneurs who become the future leaders in their communities with mentorship from IEEE member volunteers, both in the communities and elsewhere. Here are some of the places where we've had projects. mostly in Africa and in India. Again, this is a great program. I see great opportunity for this, mainly because of the electrification aspect. Because with electrification, thinking about Tom Friedman's book again, Hot, Flat, and Crowded, we are producing energy, distributed energy, so that people are self-sufficient and sustainable. Once you have access to energy, that opens up a whole world, because now you have access to the internet. With the internet, you have access to education, you have access to healthcare, you have access to entrepreneurship. You can make a big difference in your community through IEEE Smart Village, right? EPICS and IEEE. Now, this program started several years ago. I want to say probably about 15 years ago at Purdue University. Former IEEE President Dr. Leah Jamieson is the one who envisioned this as a way of engaging students in service learning or community-based learning. And EPIC stands for Engineering Projects and Community Service. The director of the program is Dr. Bill Oakes right now. And Bill is a dear friend of mine who spent a lot of time in India. He and I have spent time talking to universities about service learning and projects. What is neat about EPICS is it blends service learning with civic engagement to address critical local human needs. So if you're in Allahabad, if you're in Bangalore, if you're in Kolkata, if you're in Chennai, no matter where you live, there are local needs that drive the society. So how can you engage university students worldwide in hands-on design products that can be implemented in the community and for the community? So you can say in the community, for the community, and by the community, right? So there are 4 pillars: access and abilities, education and outreach, environment, and human services. If you need more information about this, go to epics.ieee.org. This is a project-based type of activity where we take university students, have them connect with pre-university students, because we want to seed the pipeline for the future. And then we bring nonprofit organizations to the fore, because we want to make sure that the project lives beyond the lifetime of the initial opportunity. So lots of different projects that have been conducted over the years to help local communities. Remember, IEEE's mission is very global, advancing technology for humanity, but this really transforms lives and inspires careers in local communities wherever you are, okay? Now, in 2018, when I was VP for Education, I wanted to take this beyond just a project phase, because everybody does projects, but I said, what can we do to make this more sustainable? So we created an EPICS and IEEE India initiative with a series of partnerships with a number of universities. And the idea behind this, that each of these universities would develop curriculum, whereas previously we were just saying, do a project, maybe a capstone project, maybe a culminating project, where you come up with an idea to help your community. Now we said this has to be part of the curriculum. So if you're a first-year student, second-year student, third-year student, fourth-year student, whatever year you're in, the project builds from your initial year all the way through the final year and continues through multiple generations of students, right? So we wanted to create this kind of infrastructure, and we said the best way to do this is to invest in faculty and invest in universities. So we connected with a number of universities in India. Purdue University obviously is a partner with IEEE, and this was the model that we started. So during the MOU signing, this was in New Jersey, that's Professor Bill Oakes next to me. Another gentleman I want to call out is Professor Krishna Vedula, who is the founder of an organization called IUCEE, which is the Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education, which is all about faculty professional development, all about improving colleges and universities so that they can in turn make a difference through education for their students. So these are some of the people from India who came to sign the MOU with us to deliver this EPICS and IEEE, what I call the 2.0 model in India, right? This is from my alma mater, NIT Trichy. You see the director, Dr. Minnie Thomas, was out there, Professor Raghavan and Professor Bhakta, who are the 2 co-champions, Professor Kumarasan. A number of them were there. I actually visited, that was my last visit to India in 2018, to actually sign the MOU to jumpstart this at my alma mater at NIT Trichy. Now, these are the schools that are currently in the program. So all of these schools are getting benefits from this program, and I'll show you quickly what they look like. So IEEE provides resources for the project teams, modest funding, and we also provide staff time to help them develop the projects. One of the things that we ask for is that the universities, I picked up my NIT model, but each university obviously has their own logo. this is from NIT Trichy. Each university has to commit to a minimum of 2 faculty members to advance the shared goals, and also invest in the establishment of an ethics lab at every institution where the projects can be conducted. So it's just had so happen, it was coincidence, that my batch, the batch of 81, decided to build an IoT lab at my institution. So we all got together, we donated money, we built an IoT lab. This actually happened in 2016-17. And 2018, when we signed the MOU for EPICS, we already had an EPICS lab, if you will, where students could come and work. And ultimately, we want to have a national level conference in India where partner institutions can showcase projects developed by students and engaged in these programs. The other thing I want to share with you, this just happened on Saturday. I was invited on Saturday, September 12th, to speak at something known as the Science Technology Innovation Policy Forum, STIP. This is an initiative by the Government of India to promote innovation as a way to serve communities in a wide variety of fields. The recording from this conversation will be available shortly on the Government of India's site, but I spoke about industry engagement, and I spoke about engineering the future, about how universities could engage industry, how they could engage universities and students and faculty in order to make a difference in their community. So please keep an eye out for that and check it out as you go forward. So how does this work? Again, we talked about this. The base of the pyramid is the students, pre-university college students. The nonprofit partner provides sustainability. Just to give you an idea of impact, over $500,000 awarded in project money since 2009. The average project award is about $5,000. By the way, today, if you have an idea, you can go submit it to epics.ieee.org. In 30 days, you'll have an answer. The other interesting thing to me is diversity. 36% of the participants are women, and 42% of the pre-university students who participated are women. And you can see over 1/3 of the projects, 34% of the projects have been in Asia, a number of projects in India. You can actually look at the former projects in India to get an idea of what kind of projects have been funded. Our Humanitarian Activities Committee through SITE has also got extended funding available for anything that you'd like to do in terms of COVID-19. So lots and lots of opportunities, lots and lots of resources for you to make a difference through all of this. So how do we put this all together as I get to the end of my talk? So first and foremost, I want everybody to be thinking about the skill sets that are needed to be successful in the future. Strong communication, teamwork, leadership, interdisciplinary research, professional skills for diverse engineering environments. I think it's really important that we forget about our individual disciplines and think across the system. In other words, if you're a mechanical engineer, you learn thermodynamics, heat transfer, machine design, various things. If you're an electrical engineer, you're learning about VLSI, communications, signal processing, power engineering. Now think about the system. How is the system going to put all this together so that it's sustainable, it's cross-cultural, and how can we address these global challenges with local impact? Here's another challenge for all of us. As a result of COVID-19, transportation has been disrupted. It may be 2021 before we can start traveling safely across international borders. I mean, right now there's limited international travel, but there's a lot of testing that needs to take place before people are able to safely travel. So there's increasing distance between where the technology is created and the market. How are we going to bridge this gap? This is, again, the new reality of global innovation. Yes, we need engineers who can compete. You can go look at my work with ABET accreditation. IEEE, by the way, is the largest professional technical society within ABET. And there's a number of programs in India that are accredited by ABET. In India, the NBA accredits programs in Tier 1 and Tier 2 universities. And this is a way for us to demonstrate that our engineers are prepared for industrial practice, in government and industry, for education, etc. We need engineers who can compete as well as collaborate globally. But most importantly, we need to be addressing societal needs. Inclusion, diversity, and equity are the signposts to our future. So as I get to the end of my talk, let me emphasize again that when we think about engineering the future, collaboration is critical to our success. I've given you a number of examples with the IEEE Learning Network. I didn't talk to you about our virtual conferences. ICAF, which is the International Conference on Speech Signal Processing, usually attracts about 3,000 attendees. Well, this time, guess what? We had about 16,000 people attending. So the same thing is happening around the world. And IEEE is an ocean, right? We have technical activities, standards, MGA, educational activities, so on and so forth. But none of that really should matter if you're thinking about the end user. The end user should be thinking about our mission, advancing technology for humanity. And the collaboration to me came to life visually through what I call this human pyramid. So this was a meeting of the IEEE Board of Directors 5 years ago when I was on the board in 2016. And these are young professionals who are 15 years from graduation, as you know. And they were invited to the IEEE board meeting so that we could talk about our strategic priorities. We had a break in the meeting, and the young professionals, one of them said pyramid, and in the space of a couple of minutes, this human pyramid formed before my eyes. I had a foundation, I had a solid base, I had a couple of people who stood up in front. In fact, one of them is from India right there, Ramesh Nair from IEEE Kerala section at that time, but now with Intel at Folsom, and then Sarang Sheikh is with Pakistan, another young professional leader. So there was collaboration, there was communication, there was networking. All of this happened just in front of my eyes. And to me, this is a very powerful example of how IEEE brings young professionals, brings students, brings industry, brings academia together. The same collaboration that you see exhibited in this picture is exactly what we need to see going forward to engineer the future. And I have one other thought to share with you. We oftentimes get very impatient when we're innovating, and we want to find a solution. Right now, everybody wants to get a vaccine tomorrow so that we can start doing things the way things work. And this is an African proverb that I think is really, really powerful. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. This is a time for us to pause, to reflect on our values, as I showed you, adapting for the future, and to collaborate, to truly trust, to be open, to be collaborative, to be ethical, to be resilient, and to go far. And the only way to go far is to go together. Okay? So where are we headed? Remind you once again, to be resilient, because to be resilient means innovating through adversity. So please keep that thought in mind. I'm going to ask you a question, and I know the answer to this question. Do you want to make a difference in the world? And I'd say unequivocally, every one of you is going to say absolutely yes, because that's why you're in IEEE. So this is me working with young people at our IEEE Tri-Engineering Summer Institute a couple of years ago, face-to-face. Some of them want to be artists, some of them want to be astronauts, some of them want to be doctors, and yes, some of them want to be engineers as well. But what is remarkable to me is that these young people that you see in the picture, it's a 2-week summer camp. They had no boundaries, no barriers. They just said, what can we do to make a difference, right? That's the same spirit that I try to carry when I talk about engineering the future. So if you ask me, do you want to make a difference in the world? I say, absolutely, I do, and I care. And this is how I define I care: to be inclusive, collaborative, accountable, resilient, and ethical. As a matter of fact, we have no time to waste because we can't be complacent. The world is turning to IEEE to make a difference. You almost want to flip that around and say, I raise to be inclusive, resilient, accountable, collaborative, and ethical. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity. So I'll end where I started with our inspiring president, our late president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Thank you very much for your attention. That is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me by email, through LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm on all of the social media platforms. Connect with me. I'd love to hear from you and how we can work together to engineer the future. At this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over back to the moderators to moderate the Q&A session. And I'll stay on. It is probably about 9 o'clock your time, and we can stay on for a good half an hour if you need to, or more, depending on the times that you have. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Sir, can we have some questions, sir?
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for you.
There is one question from Anushri Srivastava.
Okay.
She is our student at MIT Allahabad. She is a student member of IEEE, and she wants to know, how can we organize effective events? What are your suggestions over this?
Right. Thank you, Ms. Anshab. That's a great question. As a student member, I would say looking locally, uh, I would suggest a couple of things. And I shared this with Professor Tripathi in a private call a couple of days ago. Communication is important. So with the online resources that are available to you, I would suggest that you consider starting maybe a newsletter for your students, a newsletter where the articles can be written by undergraduate students like you on the challenges that they're facing in the current scenario and how they're overcoming those challenges. Because when you share your challenges, you find out that you're not the only person sharing those challenges, and it gets divided, right? The problem gets divided by 15, and it becomes a very small problem that you can solve. So having that kind of a platform, uh, having a newsletter, maybe one resource that you can do. Having a virtual conference. So your IEEE student branch, just like you did today, you could invite uh, a group of people, find a topic, maybe it's energy, maybe it's communications, maybe it's healthcare, find a topic, find a few speakers, find a few students to be part of the panel. It's really important. And have a panel so that your students are learning more about the impact of education. So conferences, virtual conferences, a newsletter is something you can do. The community service part that I mentioned to you is something that you can easily engage in with IEEE's humanitarian activities, HAC, as well as SITE, as well as EPICS. So those are three ideas that I have. Find a way to collaborate with branches outside of your own locality. I understand you're a student at MNNIT. There's a number of NITs around the country. So maybe you could find a common portal, a platform to get a few NITs. Don't believe that you get all of them in together. Start with a few. In my day, we used to have cultural festivals at NIT Trichy. I believe it still goes on. It's called Festember. So students would come together. We'd have various competitions for music and debate and culture and whatnot, besides engineering competitions. And it's something that started during my tenure. The first Festember was in 1976. And you can have similar events, but do that online. Do that online right now. So those are some ideas that I have for you. And last but not the least, consider establishing an honor society chapter, Eta Kappa Nu. Establishing an honor society chapter, Eta Kappa Nu. A little bit of echo here. So if you can do HKN chapter, that may be something that can help your students as well. That would be something that can help you students. Professor Tripathi, can we keep the others muted who are not speaking, because I'm getting some echo?
Participants, please mute your microphones so that this can be a fruitful discussion. Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Can we take another question from Mr. P. Nagaraju? He is talking in terms of a digital divide. Need of hour is to reduce the digital divide between urban and rural students in India. I also observe this thing. So how to overcome this digital divide? In terms of, I think he wants something in terms of this reach, approach, and overall personality.
Right. Thank you for the question, Mr. Nagaraj. And I absolutely agree with you. Having all these technologies only works provided the people that the technologies are intended for have access to them, right? So there's a huge digital divide between urban and rural communities in India. There's a huge digital divide around the world. I mean, my students have the digital divide too. Don't assume that just because we live in the United States of America, that everybody here has access. No, that's not even true. Because the program that I run, the AIM Squared program, Attract, Inspire, Mentor, Support students, many of them are first-generation students, first in their family to go to college, so they have to work to support themselves. They work 30, 40 hours a week, and they're taking 5 or 6 classes a semester to earn degrees in engineering and computer science. As a result of COVID-19, a lot of those service jobs have disappeared. Working in restaurants, working in hotels, and those kinds of jobs have disappeared. So they're, on the one hand, they're looking for livelihood to support their families. On the other hand, they're all living in, maybe a one bedroom home. and the entire family. So it's very difficult for them, first of all, to have internet, to have Wi-Fi access. So even if I can loan them laptops, I need to figure out a way to provide Wi-Fi access. So getting back to your question about rural India, there are a number of foundations that are very, very interested in it, right? On Saturday, when I spoke at the STIP 2020 forum, that's a Science Technology Innovation Policy Forum by the Government of India, we specifically talked about this question. So IEEE is clearly there. IEEE is a global organization with very strong presence in India. And through the sections, through the IEEE communities, you can certainly reach out for funding to make a difference in your local community. The other foundation that I want to bring to your attention is the WHEELS Global Foundation. That's Water, Health, Education, Energy, Livelihood, and Sustainability, which is founded by the alumni of the IITs. Now, WHEELS is very interested at the moment in rural medicine. So how do we deliver health care to rural communities that are disconnected? So I would say one way for you to think about this is we need to be thinking about access to electricity. And then when we have access to electricity, looking at the technologies that we create with 5G, the number of hotspots and things that are available, we'd obviously need to set up nodes right there so that we can increase the density and bring access to communities that lack access. And then going the last mile, the last half a mile, whatever that saying is, providing it to the end user, that is the key. So without that, all these resources will remain on the shelf untouched. So I fully agree with you. We've got to figure out a way to improve access, and it has to be done affordably, and it has to be done rapidly, right? We have no time to waste.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please keep going. Yeah, as many questions as you have. So I'm open. So.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question is from Dr. Sudhir Kumar Terlapu. What is the role of IEEE in NBA accreditation in India and in new education policy 2020?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Kumar, for that question. So the NBA is part of what is known as the Washington Accord. So there's a number of bodies that are part of the Washington Accord. ABET, which is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, is a global accreditor of programs in engineering, engineering technology, applied and natural science, and computing. So the NBA became a signatory to the Washington Accord. ABET is one of the, IEEE is one of the founding member societies of ABET, and ABET is a founding member of the Washington Accord back in 1987. So the NBA became a signatory to the Washington Accord, I want to say about 6 years ago in 2014. And ABET, of course, has been a mentor to NBA. At the moment, Tier 1 institutions from the NBA are recognized under the Washington Accord. So these are institutions that have autonomy over their curriculum. There's a few other criteria. If you look at the NBA criteria, namely students, faculty, curriculum, objectives, outcomes, facilities, continuous improvement, institutional support, and so forth, they're largely modeled along ABET criteria. So what is IEEE's role in accreditation? IEEE is the largest member society within ABET. ABET has over 36 member societies that cover all these different fields that I told you about. IEEE is the largest member society. So to give you an idea of numbers, ABET accredits about 4,000 programs right now around the world in 30 different countries and probably about 800 or plus institutions and programs. About a quarter of those are in IEEE's fields of interest. So IEEE members, volunteers, are responsible for evaluating these programs, for creating the criteria that define what it means to be an electrical engineer, biomedical engineer, computer engineer, etc., detailed criteria, maintaining the criteria, implementing the visits, and so forth. I serve on the ABET Board of Directors, as you know. I'm the director of the engineering area delegation. Up until last year, I was representing IEEE on the ABET board, but this engineering area delegation, which includes mechanical ASME, civils ASCE, chemical AICHE, biomedical BME, and so on, there's 32 societies that cover all of engineering. They elected me to be the director of engineering. So I had the engineering delegation on ABET responsible for all engineering programs across ADA. So that's a relationship. For more information, I would suggest that you review a webinar that we had on the 8th of July that was sponsored by the IEEE India Council. It was a 1.5-hour webinar on IEEE's role in ABET accreditation. And this is available on IEEE TV on demand. It's also available on my website, and I'm happy to share the link with Professor Tripathi to share with you as well at the end of this webinar. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir. I have also one question.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing a question.
Mr. Piyush, please continue. Piyush, please unmute your microphone.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mishra, I think we're having difficulty with your audio. May I suggest that you type your question in on chat, and then maybe Professor Tripathi can read it out?
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, now you are.
Member in young professional, how it beneficial for my career?
I'm not sure I heard the whole question. So what I heard was, how can I be active in my career, and how can I participate as a young professional? Is that what you asked?
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually, the question is related to another question. I think Vivek Rajput has also asked similar question.
Yeah, can you please read the question
He
out? Because
wants,
I didn't hear a word of what
yes, sir.
Mr. Mishra said.
I'm reading out it. Vivek has written probably in chat box. Yes, Mr. Rajput has written. I want to be a young professional member. How I can be active member in young professional? How it will help in my career? I think this is the question. And
Right.
similar question is asked by Piyush.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Vivek and Mr. Sharma, both, thank you very much for the question. So the young professional designation is one that you acquire as soon as you graduate, right? So let's say you complete your program as an undergraduate student and you go to work, you'll be treated as a young professional for 15 years after that first degree. Now, some of you may go on to graduate school, so you'll be a graduate student member, and then following that, following graduation, you'll become a young professional. So that is just an affinity group within IEEE. And in IEEE, to give you an idea of size, we have approximately, I want to say, 100,000 young professionals. So some of them may be grad students, some of them may have just graduated and they're young professionals. And they cover all different IEEE societies, all different IEEE regions, and so forth. So the IEEE Young Professionals has a governing body, which looks at, they also have a business plan, looking at the type of services that are required to help them. So when you think about the priorities and challenges that face students upon graduation, they're thinking about jobs, they're thinking about continuing education. Let's say you relocate to a new city. Is there an IEEE section there? Is there somebody I can connect with who can mentor me, who can support me? Can I volunteer? I don't have a lot of time, but can I do micro volunteering? I'm looking for industry-focused application type of workshops. So as a young professional, there's a number of programs like these that you can actually avail yourself of. The IEEE Young Professionals Organization is such that every major OU in the IEEE, when I say OU, it's an organizational unit, has representation in their governance. Out of the 46 technical societies in IEEE, I want to say a majority of them, probably 39 of them, have a YP rep. We have YP affinity group reps in every section. We have YP affinity group representatives, for example, in educational activities. Rafal Sills, who's the former YP chair, is the current representative on YPs. We also have representation from Women in Engineering, which is another affinity group. So the advantages for you are you're looking at conferences, you're looking at micro-volunteering opportunities, but it's much more focused on the needs of, say, graduates who've just come out of school or people who are advancing in their careers or looking for networking, professional and career development, as well as opportunities for them for entrepreneurship. See, I forgot about the IEEE entrepreneurship community. That's actually got about 17,000 participants. Not all of them are members, right? And many young professionals are very active in the IEEE entrepreneurship community because it allows them to think about startup companies. It allows them to think about venture capital funding. It allows them to think about ways that they can make an impact in their community, similar to what I described in my Engineering the Future remarks. Hope that is helpful.
Thank you, sir. Piyush, I think there are no more questions. Can we conclude the session, sir?
Okay, sir.
Oh, yes. Piyush, please.
It is my privilege to get an opportunity to extend the vote of thanks. MNLIT student branch and blessing to organize this webinar. Further, I convey my deep regards and hearty thanks We are highly motivated by his gracious presence and inspiring address. Thank you, sir. I express my sincere thanks to Dr. Maya for his branch constant support is to conduct of the webinar. Further, thanks to the participants and the society for his direction and providing some environment for organizing the webinar. Now, all participants who joined this webinar Business Society for you and by you. It is your support that keeps us motivated and energized. Moreover, I prepare MLNIT student branch and Cisco providing their platform. A special thanks to our volunteer Dr. Nandkishore sir, Vikrant, Varsnev, Pratik Raj, Saurabh Raj, Diksha, Aditya Pal, Pranav Pandey, and Vivek Rathore. These volunteers make this event a success. Last but not the least, we thank the undertaker for enlightening the path of vision for us. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mishra and Professor Tripathi, again, I want to say my thanks to all of you. And if we were doing this in a live face-to-face session in the auditorium at MNNIT, I'm sure we would all gather on stage and take a group photograph. So I would love for us, if you can turn on your cameras and if you can get a group photograph, if one of you could take a group photograph. We may have to do this on multiple screens. That would be wonderful. But I want to really thank Professor Tripathi because the faculty and the students on the call, you should know what a dedicated, committed faculty member you have in Professor Tripathi. He really cares about your education. He cares about IEEE. He cares about IEEE making a difference in the community. And I'm very grateful to you, sir, for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you, with your distinguished colleagues, with your student branch chair, Mr. Vivek Rajput, Mr. Piyush Kumar Sharma, and every single one of you who attended and for your very thoughtful questions. This is just the beginning of the conversation. This webinar is one that I hope will keep us connected, keep us engaged in IEEE and in your local communities in the days ahead. So I want to thank you very much, and I'll leave it to you to take the group photographs because I know it's very difficult to get a group of engineers lined up to get a photo.
So, all the participants, please activate your cameras, on your cameras, and this group photo.
And we may have to do it on multiple screens, Professor Tripathi, because I think we have over 100.
Yes, sir.
By the way, if you like the cool background behind me, that's downloadable from IEEE too, so you can use it for your IEEE presentations. I used to signify urgency because I feel like we need to be on the Starship Enterprise and move ahead at warp speed. So, Professor Tripathi, I think you're going to have to call instead of cheese, I think you're going to have to say IEEE or something.
Yes, sir.
Or you can always say IE.
IEEE.
IE. Yeah, do everything with a smile as an IE. And I'm really glad you scheduled this for today because if this was in September 19th, we'd have probably had 3 people because the rest of them are going to be watching IPL like me.
So all these screens.